All right, here we go. Let's get started on step number 2. This is a two-parter. So if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I would say put a pin in this one, go back and listen to last week's episode, and then come back to this one. This episode is kind of the part B. I taught you the main tool last week, and this week, I'm going to go a little deeper into it and talk about the 4 big problems people have when using this tool, right? Tools are amazing, but if you don't know how to, I'm thinking about starting the chainsaw. Like, if you don't know how to get it started, you don't know how to hold that thing properly. Chainsaw is an amazing tool that our firefighters use and could be a disaster if it's not used properly. So I want to make sure to go into some of the problems that people have with using this really simple and amazing and most powerful coaching tool we possibly have. So if you didn't, like I said, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, pop back over, listen to that. And if you did listen to it and you don't remember it or you didn't do the homework, welcome to having a human life. I get it. I'll give you a little bit of a review here, and then we'll go into those 4 parts to go a little bit deeper today. So here we go. The tool that we taught last week is called the model. There are 5 parts to it. These 5 parts are 5 lines, and each of the lines, simple, 1 word or 1 sentence, except for line number 4. We get to be a little bigger, put a little more juice into line number 4. It's the exception to the rule. The 5 parts of the model, the 5 lines of the model are, the first one is the circumstance. Circumstances are just facts in the world. The second line is our thoughts. When you're building a model, you just want to put 1 thought in there. I know you have lots of them. We all do. You just want to put 1 in because 1 thought is going to produce 1 particular feeling. This is line number 3, as the way that we feel is generated by how we think about a particular circumstance. How we feel drives our actions. And this is line number 4. It gets a little, you can put more stuff in here. All the things you do and all the things you do not do. All of your actions give you the results that you have in the world. Every result is that you create starts with your thoughts about any particular circumstance. We can't change circumstances. Circumstances just are what they are. How we react to them, how we think to them is what we get the results in the face of the circumstances. Okay, so I asked you in the homework last week is just to start to look at the world. All the things that are going on in the world can fit into the model, into one of these 5 lines. It goes in there somewhere. It's either a neutral circumstance. It's a way somebody thinks about it. It's a way that one feels. Are things that you do, things that you don't do, and there are results. Results are oftentimes proving our thoughts. They oftentimes make up our new circumstances, what we've created in the world. And the pattern goes again. You have a new thought about whatever those results are that have been created. So today, I want to talk about the top 4 problems that we have with the model. I talked about some of it last time. This isn't about creating rainbows and daisies and shoving in positive thinking. It is about understanding how we are operating in the world, how we're showing up, what is going on, bringing clarity. That is the biggest and most important first step here, okay? We're not just replacing, shoving, pretending. This is why most diet stuff doesn't work, because you're just shoving in, I can do it, just do it, rah, rah, push, 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 on top of whatever the garbage thoughts are that you have about yourself and your body. And you have to unfold and unpack those, right? This is why I give you the suggestion that you are the perfect spouse and your spouse is perfect for you and it's an amazing relationship. But you cannot just cheerlead your way through that. We have to unpack what actually is going on using the model to get curious. All right, so when you're building out this model, one of the really tricky parts, one of these 4 tricky parts, is that circumstance line. We oftentimes actually put thoughts in a circumstance line. We think a lot of things are just the way they are, but it really is the way you are thinking about something. So spouse being gone for 96 hours is terrible. It's just bad. It's not good for the children to not have their other parent with them for 96 hours. Their job it's dangerous. Yeah. These are thoughts. Parent gone for 96 hours. That's a circumstance. It's bad for the children is a thought. You've got to separate these two things. You can make lots of arguments to me about why it's bad for children to have their spouse gone for 96 hours, right? Somebody might be able to make a case for why it's good. It's because how somebody thinks about it. Now, I'm going to give you a hard one in here that to sort of show this place and show the difference. Death, somebody dying, is a circumstance. It is not good and it is not bad. It's a fact. Like we can look, this person was alive and now they are dead. That's a circumstance. You can put that on the circumstance line. Somebody died too soon. Somebody had a bad death. Death is bad. Killing people is wrong. People should live long lives, right? These are all kind of thoughts that we have around the subject of death. So you want to pull that apart. Some deaths, you may have the thought that it was good, right? You may actually have a positive thought about somebody's death, right? Somebody who's been in a lot of pain. They've lived a long, full life. They're ready. They feel right in their relationships. Their longtime spouse died just before and they've been holding on till their spouse passed on and then they pass on, right? There are some deaths that you think loving, positive things about. There are some deaths that you don't think loving, positive things. That person, we just recently had a friend go to a 20-year-old's funeral. Freshman year of college, was diagnosed with bone cancer, and he died a year and a half later, right? Those are circumstances, but how I think about those circumstances dictates what I feel. So you want to be able to pull these two things apart. Circumstances are just neutral, but we can think many different ways about it. This brings up the other piece of feelings, this piece where I was saying, this isn't about positive, feeling good all the time, Pollyanna stuff. The human life has all of the emotions. In the face of death, you may want to feel positive or you may want to feel negative, depending on how you decide to interpret the particular circumstance. And all is okay, right? It's just understanding what it is and where you are at in the particular moment. So when you put your numbers of years married, or you put yelled at spouse, right? You could put that, or talked with a louder than normal voice at my spouse, right? Then you can look at, what do I think about the way I spoke to my spouse? I said, you could put a quote in there. Spouse said, "I'm taking overtime." That's a circumstance. It's just a fact that the spouse just said this. But then you have thoughts about what that means, right? They don't care about the family. They do care about the family. You can have different thoughts about it. letting yourself pull these apart. Circumstances are just neutral, very, very factual. Just be really factual in that place. If there's a lot of charge in what you're putting in the circumstance line, you might look and see if it's actually a thought. It's a way you're thinking about it. Sometimes our thoughts are so well practiced, they're what we call a belief. And so sometimes when we just believe it so much, it occurs to us that it's a circumstance, that it's just a fact of how the world is. But it's really a thought that's so well practiced. It's a belief. It's a really, really strong thought. So kind of look for yourself, which is which. If you only did one thing in looking at your relationship in this next week and thinking about your relationship, this one piece would be huge to really bring out the difference between what is a circumstance and just let it be neutral so you can see what your thoughts are about it. Now, the next most common problem that we have is, and I've mentioned this one before because it's really big, is this idea of judging or shoulding. Shoulding is something you could do, but putting some shame on it. So I invite you every time to show up with love. And you can show up with love, but a lot of times you don't show up with love. Let's face it, we don't show up to our partners in a space of loving them or loving ourselves. We show up in a space that is angry or hurt or mad or upset or irrational or childish, right? We show up in these ways. Welcome to being human. When you're building out these models and you start seeing the world in models and you start to understand, oh, the way I'm thinking about this is really it's this mismanaged mind of mine that's really driving everything. Then we can get very judgmental on ourselves. Well, I should be doing it differently then, right? I should be thinking more loving thoughts. No, it's not. We don't use it as a judging tool. We use it as a curiosity tool. Because the more we get curious, the more you are showing up with love for yourself. And that's what we need more of. We need more love in our relationship. We need more connection in our relationship. And it starts really in with you. How do you show up with you? From a place of curiosity or from a place of judgment? The third thing is that we don't process our feelings. We go from feelings to actions really fast, right? That we just zip into autopilot. Or we cover up the feelings. We try not to feel the feelings, right? Oh, I'm going to change my thought really quick so I feel something else. I'm going to get more into this one in a future episode because this is a really big piece that has to do with trauma and how to process and heal from trauma. And so we're going to talk about that in the future. But for now, what I want you to do is our biggest job is to just allow the feeling that you feel. This is back to having curiosity versus judgment on it. Now, you don't have to act from that feeling. And you're good at this, especially if you're a parent or if you've been around children. They can evoke some strong emotions in us, right? They are good at poking the bear. And there are many, many times that you have refrained, and maybe not always, but many times you've refrained from just kind of exploding at them, or that you've just you're two and you're crying and it makes my head want to explode with the crying, but I'm not going to explode because I know you're two and I can come into compassion, right? So you can put a pin in, even though your brain feels like it's wanting to explode, you don't act from there. So there's all kinds of instances in life where you have a feeling that you're able to put a pin in it, to feel it, but not act from it. So we don't need to even cover up. And that's where I'm inviting you on this one, is that you can feel a feeling And this is how you process and let a feeling move through you. So this is one that we oftentimes, when we get to the model, we want to change it really quickly to a happy thought so we don't feel something bad. And we don't allow ourselves the ability to actually process a feeling, to not act from it, but to just put a pin in it for a minute, a moment, and to feel it and process it. And the fourth big problem that comes up when we start to manage our minds and we start to look and think in terms of models and notice models happening in the world is that we have this idea that everybody else should start to notice them too. And everybody else should start to notice that it's their thoughts creating their feelings. And they should be changing their thoughts and feelings so you can feel better. This is a tricky one. When you notice for yourself the power of understanding your own mind, the power that you get from coaching yourself, being coached, coming over when you get coaching for yourself, you start to understand this power, then we start to think, oh, my partner should really be doing this too. I would feel even better if they would change their thought and feeling an action model. This is a big red light. That is their model and their feelings and their thoughts. They get to have them. They get to be their own human. It's our thoughts and feelings come from us, no matter what they are doing over there. Yes, there may be some circumstances. You have food that you really enjoy eating for whatever your reasons are. It's easy for you to generate the feeling of pleasure and happiness having, for me, it's ice cream. I love ice cream. So I can easily generate the feeling of pleasure and happiness eating ice cream. Eating ice cream is just a circumstance. It's neutral. It's the way that I think about the ice cream that creates my sense of pleasure. So for me, the circumstance of ice cream is easy for me to generate positive feelings. So the way your partner acts or other people act in the world, there are times when they generate a particular circumstance, they say particular words or do particular things, that it is easier for you to generate positive or negative feelings or positive or negative thoughts. But it's still your thoughts that are generating the feelings. It is not what they are doing or they are not doing. They get to do whatever they want to do in the world. You get to think and feel however you want to think and feel about that circumstance. They are a circumstance of their behaviors and actions are neutral. They are neutral. I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes because we're very quick to apply a thought to the way they are acting in the world. So a really tricky thing is when we start to notice, oh, I can change my results in the world by my noticing my thinking and my feeling, which drives my actions. Other people should be doing it too, so I feel better. They just are going to do what they do. We are in charge of ourselves as adult humans, and they are in charge of them. So we don't want to go around waiting and expecting and teaching and hoping and prodding for them to change their thought models for you to feel better. Right? It comes into you. You're responsible for that. All right. Those are our top 4 problems that we have as we start to understand the model. And I want you to keep going in. The most important thing I said that you can do this week is to really get neutral with those circumstances. Pull apart what are circumstances and what are my thoughts. No judgment, just curiosity. Give yourself a space to process your feelings. Just feel your feelings. More on that to come. And don't try and get other people to change their models so that you feel better. You feel better or you feel different. You feel how you feel because of your own models. Show up with love for that. Be committed to do the work of understanding your own mind so you can understand your own contribution to the relationship and your own way of being present to your relationship. Be in it. Feel what you feel. That is being present to your relationship. Show up with curiosity and love for yourself. Start with yourself. This is what fills you up to love your spouse and your relationship and be connected. All right, I will see you next time. If I don't see you before next time or hear from you next time, I would love to hear from you of how you're doing with building these models. Come on over to the website, relationshipsonfire.com. Shoot me an email, or better yet, get in the membership so I can do some coaching with you and help you through this most powerful but a little bit tricky tool. It will change your life. I promise. See you over there. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.